So we don't have quite the volume of those high ticket sales. And I think, although this is changing a little bit recently, and we can touch on that, but I feel like people in Washington, D.C., wealthy individuals, are a little different in the way they consume real estate than the other markets you mentioned, which is to say that in my experience, wealthy people in Washington, D.C. really don't want to display their wealth in the same way that people do in New York and Miami and LA. I mean, we have a lot of very wealthy clients who live in what, in other markets would be considered very modest homes. People in DC are not flashy. We certainly sell very expensive property, but compared to what you see in those other markets, it really is a very different thing. Now, that is changing a little bit now, I have to say. People have certainly read in the paper about the quote unquote Trump bump, and either people who in his administration who are admittedly very wealthy people who have come in from New York and other cities and are used to consuming real estate in a way that is very different than the way we consume real estate. And so those folks have come in and purchased some of the most expensive property we have to sell in Washington, D.C. And I'm very pleased to say that we did the bulk of those transactions. I mean, almost every single one. And I think that, and it's not just people in the administration, right? I think it is now public that Mark Zuckerberg, has acquired a house in Washington, D.C. I think people are feeling the need right now to have proximity to the federal government, to the administration. And so that has changed the dynamic of the DC luxury market quite a bit. Will that be permanent? I don't know. I mean, certainly there's a limit to how many huge houses we can build because there just aren't that many places to build them anymore.
Right.
And as we have development restrictions, we have height restrictions in Washington, D.C. You're never going to see a building, a super tall condo in Washington, D.C. with triplex units selling for $100 million. It's just never going to happen because we're just a different animal. But it certainly has been exciting to see some of the level of these big sales recently.
Do you think that's probably the biggest luxury trend from a market dynamic standpoint? Is the people coming in that want influence on the administration?
I think it is right now. Like I said, we'll see if that continues. Everything is in flux right now. I mean, on one hand, the administration has said that they would like to see Washington, D.C. be a showcase for the world, that they want the city to be clean and beautiful and crime free. And I think we can all get behind those things.
Right.
But on the other hand, they're closing down federal agencies. People are getting laid off. So I'm not sure that those two goals necessarily are in unison. We'll see what happens. But, Washington, D.C. is, for all intents and purposes, my hometown, right? At this point, I'm a local. I want to see this city succeed. And I really hope that it continues to be a place where, frankly, wealthy people and not wealthy people can live and enjoy a wonderful city. But from my perspective as somebody who owns a luxury brokerage, yeah, absolutely. I want to see us continue to be a place where people are wanting to relocate and wanting to spend a lot of money on property.